Can you buy your council property? The things that you're going to need to think about are: how long have you lived there? Who else is on the tenancy agreement? And how much do you need? So the right to buy discount, the amount that you get is going to be dependent on how long you've lived in the property. So the longer you've lived in the property, the more of a discount that you'll get. And it is capped at a certain amount, which I'll cover off at the end of the video. My top tip: if possible, add eligible children to the application. This is about wealth building. I'll give you a scenario that is a true scenario, what actually happened. I had a client many years ago who approached me about the right to buy. She didn't have enough of a salary to be able to qualify for the mortgage. And this was in the days where in the city of London, you're getting 136,500 as a discount. But the property was priced quite high because it's London, and she didn't have the income to cover it. She had two daughters that live in the home that she could have put on the application. Both of them were working, both of them lived there. The block was that the kids were like, no, I don't want to lose my first time buyer's discount. I hear this all the time. If you're a young person and you're saying that, let me just give you a suggestion. If you haven't already started saving for your first home and you're not that disciplined and you're living at home at the moment anyway, you should consider going on the right to buy application. And here's why. Let's just say you go on the application and you talk to your parents or whoever else is on there, and you make an arrangement around what can be done with some of the equity. What I mean by that is when you buy the property, the council is going to give you some money. That money then becomes equity. I have a lot of videos about explaining equity, etc. So that means that's money that the house is valued one price, but you only owe another amount. That's the amount that you owe on the mortgage. Anyway, there's a period of time that if you do sell the council property, you'll have to pay back some money. But in most cases, for most young people, it's not going to take 1 or 2 years for them to save up for a deposit for a home anyway. It's going to take 4, 5, 6 years, right? So if in that time you're living at home, you're already on this mortgage, and you open a lifetime ISA, if that's a good product for you. So a lifetime ISA will give you £1,000 per year if you're paying $4,000. Make sure that you check out the accounts and read all of the pros and cons. The lifetime ISA is for first-time buyers. So let's just say you open a lifetime ISA, you save for 5 years. Each year you put in £4,000, plus you get the £1,000 for the government. When you come outside of that period where you'd have to pay back some money for the right to buy discount, that property has quite a bit of equity. So that means what you think you would be losing on the first-time buyer's stamp duty discount, which sometimes you're not going to get anything anyway because the house price you're buying is below the threshold. But let's just say you do. You could have already had an arrangement to say, we'll take some of the equity out of the property that we now own, and we'll use that to offset or pay the stamp duty. Everybody wins. Everybody wins. But quite often, we have this idea that money's going to fall out of the sky in the next 8 months and I'm going to buy a house, and it doesn't happen. So in the scenario I was telling you about, this lady approached me many years ago, the kids didn't want to do it because they're going to buy their first home. Then when November of 2024 came around, she's frantic saying, oh, I don't want to lose this £136,000. Can we move forward? The kids still hadn't purchased their first home and still didn't even have any savings. They could have been 3 years into that discount by then. So my advice would be, if you have someone else that's eligible and it fits your circumstances, please include them on the application, because it will increase your affordability as far as being approved for the mortgage. And with that said, even if you don't think you're ready, you should look into the process. And here's why. I've had so many people who have watched my videos or seen me speak at events and said, you know what, I'm going to just give it a try. A couple months later, they'll contact me and say, I have my right to buy letter. This is how much the discount is. We've done the math and we've seen that they can purchase that property, even though they didn't think they could, with very little money out of their pocket. The other thing to consider is that in November of 2024, things change. Who's to say that the right to buy discount will always be around? And then we'll have another scramble when the government announces that changes are being made. There's a saying in property that the best time to buy was 20 years ago. The next best time to buy is today. And if your circumstances are correct and you're in a position where you feel that you could purchase, you should look into it. You should speak to a professional. My videos are not here to replace professional advice. They are here to open your mind to some concepts that you can then reach out to a mortgage broker or an accountant or a professional, a licensed professional who can walk you through based on your personal circumstances. This is why I always ask you to like, share, and subscribe, because you may know someone that this information would help. So apply even if you don't think that you're ready. So here's the question. What do I do to prepare for my mortgage? So step one, what you're going to want to do is request the right to buy or right to acquire from your local council. Each council's process is a little bit different. As I said, some are fast, some are slow. I know that at the time of airing this video, a lot of councils were inundated a few months ago. So the process was slow, but it's speeding up because they worked through the application. Tidy up your bank statements. So have a financial review with a professional who can look through your bank statements and make sure that everything that you're paying is viable. Because sometimes we find that people are paying 2 insurances for the exact same thing. So tidy up your bank statement. Check your credit report. You know what I'm going to say now, right? You should check your credit report at least once a year. I would recommend twice a year. So at the beginning of the year, when it's the new year, someplace halfway through the year, check your credit report and get your credit report from checkmyfile.com. There will be a link in the description. So check your credit report that that if there's anything on there that shouldn't be there, or if a missed payment or late payment is on there, you can resolve those issues. You can put some distance between that bump and when you are going to apply for the mortgage. Maximize your deposit. As I said, if the lifetime ISA is appropriate for you and you don't plan on purchasing within the next 12 months, open a lifetime ISA, read the terms and conditions, because if you open a lifetime ISA and use it for anything other than a first purchase or as retirement, there are very steep penalties. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to find lifetime ISAs at your High Street bank. So I would suggest you go to moneysavingsexpert.com. That's Martin Lewis's website. He's a consumer advocate. And just do some research on lifetime ISAs to ensure that this is the correct product for you. But I do need to caution you, if you are planning on buying within the next, let's just say 6 months, the lifetime ISA will not be the appropriate product, because you need to have had the ISA for at least 12 months. So you know what's going to come next? Speak to a broker. Speak to a broker 6 to 12 months before you think you're ready to purchase. Before you think you're ready to purchase. Now I'm going to give a quick summary of the right to buy scheme. So the right to buy discount overview. If you're eligible for right to buy, you can purchase your council housing association home at a discounted price. It's going to be based on the type of property, the value of the property, where you live, and how long you've been a public sector tenant. You may have to repay some or all of the deposit if you sell the home within 5 years. If you've used the right to buy discount before, your discount may be reduced. So in summary, you can purchase your right to buy property. The information that I'm giving is for guidance only, so make sure you speak to your local council. Ask questions, verify the figures, but understand the scheme, because it's a really good scheme and it can help you and your family start to build generational wealth. Here's some more information on how it works. Houses, 35% discount after 3 to 5 years as a public sector tenant. It increases by 1% per year after 5 years. There's a cap on the regional maximum. That's for houses. For flats, it's a 50% discount after 3 to 5 years, and it increases by 2% per year after 5 years. Again, there is a cap depending on your region. If you're buying jointly, this is good news. If you're buying jointly, use the longest tenancy among the applicants. So if you and your husband have been in that tenancy agreement for a different amount of time, they're going to use the longest one. But again, make sure you contact your counsel, ask the questions that you can get the specific answers to your specific needs. The right to buy discount is an amazing gift from the government and should be utilized where appropriate. If you've considered buying your council right to buy property or your right to acquire, if you've considered exercising that right, but you weren't sure on what you need to do or how to do it, make sure you contact me or a licensed mortgage broker who can walk you through the process. Each council is a little bit different. So you will find when you speak to me or speak to another mortgage broker, they will ask you to get some information from your local council. So you want to do that. You want to start the process. Don't delay. Don't rule yourself out because the figures that you could be getting are quite astronomical. So these are correct at the time of this video. So in London, the maximum discount is 16,000. There are exceptions for Dagenham. So some areas, they know that the house prices and the economic makeup is a little bit different. So they do have exceptions. So in the Southeast, it's 38,000. In the Southwest, it's 30,000, and so on and so on and so on. But the bottom line is this: you won't get any discount if you do nothing. Make sure that you look into your council right to buy or council right to acquire. Make sure you speak to a mortgage broker and make sure you ask questions. One of the biggest problems that we have in society at the moment is a lack of financial literacy. And in my view, it's not because the information is not available. I think there's too much information available, but quite often people will rely on TikTok or social media to get their full advice. It's great to get concepts from these platforms. Social media is amazing for that. But when you have that information, make sure you speak to a licensed professional. Another one of my pet peeves is people that will speak to a professional, but then they're speaking to their barber or the lady at the salon, and they're challenging the professional based on what someone that is not licensed is saying. We as mortgage brokers have a lot of regulation that we have to follow, and most mortgage brokers are here to do a great job for you and your family, to give you the best products and services that are available based on your circumstances. So the advice that I'm giving is not financial, it's not legal advice, and I'm not telling you that there's a one size fits all. You should always consult a professional who knows your personal circumstances. You should always be open and honest with that broker, and you should never look to do anything that would violate the terms or conditions of your mortgage. Because as they always say in the ads, your home could be repossessed if you don't keep up your payments. And as someone that worked in that area of finance for over a decade, it's not a great thing. Quite often, people end up in that situation because they didn't listen to their mortgage broker or because they were given bad advice. But 9 times out of 10, they were given good advice, but thought they knew better, or their barber knew better, or their gardener knew better. The advice that we give you is to move you forward. Being a mortgage broker is a referral business. So the better job I do for you, the more business I'll get. So the information that I give you is to make sure that you're happy, to make sure that you feel supported. I'll quickly cover off the mortgage process again. You're going to get an agreement in principle. The council or the seller, if you're not doing a council right to buy, is going to need an agreement in principle. That's just saying that the bank would lend in a certain amount based on your profile without verifying anything. Once you find the property, you will negotiate a price. You'll get an offer agreed. You'll then go back to your broker who will complete a full mortgage application. At that point, the bank will do a valuation. A valuation, not a survey, check the link for videos that explain the difference. Once the valuation has come in, the underwriting on the application can be done. This is when the lender will request 3 months bank statements, pay slips, ID, and various other things depending on your profile. Once the underwriting has been done, they will issue a full mortgage offer. This mortgage offer is more of a binding agreement. It usually has a date on it that it expires. It's usually about 6 months, but don't get stressed out. If it does expire or as it approaches its expiration date, a good mortgage broker will contact the lender and get it extended. Now, when it's extended, it will be based on the rates that are available at the time of the extension, which means you may end up with a higher rate or a lower rate because 6 months down the line, the market will have changed quite a bit. But you get that mortgage offer. Once you have the mortgage offer, the rest of the process is pretty much between your solicitor and the seller's solicitor or the counsel's solicitor. So it's important to start speaking to a solicitor at the beginning of the process. That way you can get pricing, you can get a feel for how their service is. Do not pick the cheapest solicitor. Don't pick your solicitor based on price. Pick your solicitor based on service. The £200 or £300 or £400 you think you're saving by going with a cheaper solicitor can cost you tens of thousands of pounds in the long run. That's if the deal even gets to go through, because if they're slow, if they're inefficient, it could mean that you miss the deadlines that the council has set in order to make the purchase. And not every council is going to be lenient if deadlines are missed. My name is Anthony Lindsay, and I do these videos that I can give you information that you can be a more informed consumer. It's not designed to replace one-on-one information with a qualified professional. I appreciate your likes, your comments, and your sharing this video with people that might find the information useful. I'm not someone that's hiding out. I'm not just some guy on social media. So you can connect with me via LinkedIn, and my information will be in the description. Thanks for watching, and make sure that you like, subscribe, and share.